Your tomatoes are lying to you. They look fine. Green leaves, a few flowers, maybe some small fruit forming. But underneath the soil, something is quietly going wrong. And by the time you see the symptoms on the surface, you've already lost weeks of growth. Most gardeners never figure out why their tomatoes and peppers plateau. They water consistently. They fertilize on schedule. They follow every tip from every video. And still, stunted plants, slow fruit set, diseases that show up out of nowhere and tear through the entire garden in days. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The problem isn't what you're adding to your garden. It's what's silently locking your plants out of the nutrients already sitting in your soil. And the fix costs almost nothing. You already own it. It's sitting in your kitchen right now. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why your tomatoes and peppers have been underperforming. And you're going to see how one single spoon of a 2-ingredient kitchen mixture completely changes the trajectory of your harvest. We're talking faster fruit set, disease resistance that kicks in within days, and a yield increase that will genuinely shock you. Stay with me, because the first thing I need to show you is what's actually happening underground right now. Most gardeners focus entirely on what's above the soil line. The leaves, the stems, the flowers. But the real battle, the one that determines whether you get 5 tomatoes or 500, is happening in the first 6 inches of dirt. Here's what nobody tells beginners. Your soil might be full of nutrients and your plants can still be starving. It's called nutrient lockout, and it happens when the pH of your soil drifts out of the ideal range. When the soil becomes too acidic, which happens naturally over time, especially in containers, raised beds, and heavily watered garden plots, the chemical bonds between nutrients and soil particles tighten up. Calcium, potassium, magnesium, they're all there. Your plant just can't access them. The roots reach out. They find nothing they can use. The plant responds by slowing down. Growth stalls. Flowers drop before they set fruit. New leaves come in pale and weak. And the immune system of the plant collapses, leaving it wide open for every fungal disease in the neighborhood. This is the real reason your tomatoes stall in midsummer. Not the heat, not the watering. The soil chemistry has quietly shifted, and your plants are locked out of their own food supply. And the worst part? Most commercial fertilizers make this problem worse. Walk into any garden center and you'll see an entire wall of brightly colored bottles. Tomato food, pepper boost, bloom maximizer. Each one promises explosive results. But here's what those labels don't tell you. Synthetic fertilizers are salt-based. Every time you apply them, you're adding soluble salts to your soil. Over time, and it doesn't take long, those salts accumulate. They draw moisture away from root hairs. They increase soil acidity. They kill off the beneficial microbial life that your plants depend on to process nutrients naturally. You're essentially feeding your plants through a broken pipeline. You pour fertilizer in at the top. The soil chemistry is so disrupted that only a fraction of it ever reaches the roots. So you add more. The problem deepens. The cycle continues. Think about what that means for your tomatoes and peppers specifically. Both are heavy feeders. Both are incredibly sensitive to calcium deficiency. Both suffer visibly and fast when the soil ecosystem breaks down. Blossom end rot on your tomatoes, that dark, sunken, rotten patch on the bottom of perfectly good fruit, is not a disease. It's a calcium absorption failure caused almost entirely by disrupted soil chemistry and inconsistent moisture uptake. You could be surrounded by calcium and still lose half your crop to it. But here's the part that changes everything. There are 2 things sitting in your kitchen right now that, combined in the right proportion, can correct your soil chemistry, break open nutrient lockout, destroy the conditions that fungal diseases need to survive, and give your tomatoes and peppers a direct shot of bioavailable minerals their roots can absorb almost immediately. The first ingredient is baking soda, pure sodium bicarbonate. The same white powder you use for baking and cleaning. A box costs less than $1. Most households have 3 of them. The second ingredient is wood ash. Fine ash from a fireplace, a fire pit, or a campfire. Not charcoal ash. Not ash from treated or painted wood. Clean, natural wood ash. That's it. 2 ingredients. 1 spoon. And the science behind why this works is rock solid. Baking soda is alkaline. When you introduce it to the soil in a diluted solution, it gently nudges the pH back toward neutral, right into the sweet spot where tomatoes and peppers thrive. That shift alone can unlock nutrients that have been trapped in the soil for weeks. You're not adding anything new. You're opening a door that was already closed. Wood ash amplifies this effect. It's naturally alkaline, but more importantly, it's loaded with potassium, calcium, and trace minerals, all in a form that plant roots can absorb directly. Potassium strengthens cell walls and drives fruit development. Calcium is essential for building healthy tissue and preventing blossom end rot. And the trace minerals act like cofactors. They activate enzyme systems in the plant that control everything from photosynthesis to disease resistance. When you combine baking soda and wood ash and water, you create a mild, organic, bioavailable solution that does three things at once. It corrects pH, it delivers minerals, and it creates a leaf and soil surface environment where fungal spores cannot survive. Precision matters here. This is not a situation where more is better. The wrong ratio can do more harm than good, and I'll explain exactly why in a moment. For one standard watering can, roughly 1 gallon of water, you need exactly 1 tablespoon of baking soda combined with 1 teaspoon of fine wood ash. Sift the ash before you use it. You want a fine powder, not chunks or debris. Drop both ingredients into the watering can first. Then add the water, lukewarm, not cold. Cold water from a garden hose shocks warm summer roots and actually slows nutrient absorption. Lukewarm water keeps root metabolism active and speeds up uptake. Stir until both ingredients are fully dissolved. The solution should be slightly cloudy and slightly alkaline. That's exactly what you want. Now, here's something most people get completely wrong when they first try this. The instinct when something works is to use more of it. If 1 spoon works, 2 spoons must work twice as well. This is the single mistake that turns a powerful natural remedy into a plant killer. Excess baking soda raises soil pH too aggressively. Instead of opening the nutrient pipeline, you slam it shut in the other direction. The soil becomes too alkaline. Iron and manganese become unavailable. Leaves turn yellow between the veins, a classic sign of micronutrient deficiency caused by overalkalinity. Growth crashes. Excess wood ash compounds the problem. Ash is concentrated. A little goes a long way. Too much, and you're delivering a mineral overload that burns delicate root hairs the same way harsh synthetic fertilizers do. 1 tablespoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of ash, 1 gallon of water. That's the measurement that triggers the biological response without crossing into damaged territory. Think of it like adjusting the thermostat in a house. You're not trying to heat the room from 0 to 100 in one shot. You're making a precise, controlled correction. Small input, big result. This is where the science gets genuinely interesting, and where most gardening videos stop short. Fungal diseases like powdery mildew, early blight, late blight, and septoria leaf spot all share one common requirement. They need a slightly acidic, moist surface to germinate, colonize, and spread. The spores land on your tomato leaves. They find the right pH, they put out threads. The infection begins. By the time you see white powder or brown spots, the colony is already established and releasing thousands of new spores. When you apply this baking soda and ash solution, you're changing the surface chemistry of both the soil and the lower leaves. You create a mildly alkaline film that spores cannot penetrate. They land. They find nothing hospitable. They die before they can establish. This isn't suppression. It's prevention. You're removing the conditions the disease needs before the disease arrives. And for plants already showing early signs of fungal infection, a few white patches, a couple of spotted lower leaves, the alkaline shift halts the spread almost immediately. New growth comes in clean. The plant redirects energy from fighting infection back into producing fruit. I watched this happen with a row of Roma tomatoes that were just starting to show early blight in July. 5 plants. The lower leaves were covered in those characteristic dark brown rings. I applied the 1 spoon solution to the root zone and lightly misted the lower stems, never the upper leaves in direct sun, and within 4 days the new growth was completely clean. The infection stopped progressing. The plants finished the season and produced heavily right up until frost. Let's talk about what actually happens to your tomato plants after you start this treatment, because the timeline is specific, and knowing what to expect will stop you from second-guessing whether it's working. Days 1 through 3, mostly invisible. The root zone is absorbing the mineral solution. Soil chemistry is shifting. Nothing dramatic on the surface yet. This is the underground work happening before the above-ground show begins. Day 4 through 7. This is where you start to see it. New growth at the growing tips will look noticeably darker green. Stronger, the stems will look slightly thicker. If you had any flowers dropping prematurely, that should begin to slow. The plant is stabilizing. Week 2. Fruit set accelerates. Tomatoes that were sitting small start swelling. If you were losing developing fruits to blossom end rot, that problem begins to correct itself as calcium absorption normalizes. Leaves that were pale or yellowing will either green up or drop and be replaced by strong new growth. Week 3 onward, this is the compounding phase. The improved soil chemistry supports the microorganisms that continue to break down organic matter and feed the plant long after the initial application. Growth doesn't just continue, it builds on itself. The harvest increase isn't a one-time spike. It's a sustained upward curve that continues for the rest of the growing season. If tomatoes are the crowd favorites of the summer garden, peppers are the most frustrating. You plant them, they establish, and then they just sit there, the exact same size for weeks on end, while you wonder if something is fundamentally wrong. Nothing is wrong. Peppers are doing something very specific during that stall phase. They're building root infrastructure. They're not ready to fruit until the root system hits a certain density threshold. The problem is that most backyard soils, especially container mixes and raised bed media that's been used for a season or two, are nutrient depleted and slightly acidic by the time pepper season hits midsummer. The roots are reaching and finding very little. The plant stays in a holding pattern. The one-spoon solution breaks that pattern in a very specific way. The potassium from the wood ash is the key ingredient for pepper response. Potassium is the nutrient most directly responsible for breaking dormancy in fruit-producing plants. It signals the plant's internal system that resources are available. Root expansion accelerates. The plant shifts from vegetative holding to active fruiting mode. You'll know it's working when the main stem visibly thickens and new side shoots begin pushing out rapidly. That's the plant branching, and every new branch is a new fruiting site. The number of peppers you harvest is directly tied to how many branching events occurred before flowering. More branches, more peppers. It's that direct. A pepper plant that was stalled at 12 inches can double in height within 2 weeks of starting this treatment and begin flowering aggressively shortly after. How you apply this solution is just as important as the recipe itself. Always water the base of the plant, the root zone. Pour slowly and let the solution soak in rather than run off. For tomatoes in the ground, create a small depression in the soil around the base of the plant. Not right against the stem, but about 6 inches out where the feeder roots are most active. And pour into that depression. Let it drain down. For container-grown tomatoes and peppers, apply until you see the first few drops come out of the drainage holes. That tells you the solution has saturated the root zone. Never apply to dry soil. Water normally first. Let the soil absorb that initial moisture. Then apply the mineral solution 30 minutes later. Dry soil causes the minerals to concentrate instead of distributing evenly, and localized concentration is exactly how root burn happens even with mild solutions. The timing within the day matters too. Evening application is best. The sun is off the leaves. Temperatures are dropping. The soil is cooling. Plants open their stomata, the tiny pores through which they exchange gases and moisture, more actively during the cooler overnight hours. That extended cool period means 8 to 10 hours of uninterrupted root absorption before the heat of the next day evaporates moisture from the soil surface. Morning application is a distant second option. Never midday when the sun is intense and soil temperature peaks. Frequency is where most people either underuse this method and see minimal results, or overuse it and create a new set of problems. The ideal frequency is once every 14 days. Every 2 weeks, from the moment you see the first flower bud forming until the end of the season. The 2-week interval is not arbitrary. It takes approximately 14 days for the initial pH correction to stabilize, for soil microorganisms to adapt to the slightly altered chemistry, and for the mineral uptake cycle to complete one full rotation. Applying again before 2 weeks is up doesn't accelerate the process, it disrupts it. Mark it on your calendar. Set a recurring reminder on your phone. The consistency of a regular 2-week schedule produces dramatically better results than sporadic heavy application. And one more thing. On the weeks between applications, the off weeks water normally. Don't add extra baking soda thinking it'll bridge the gap. Those off weeks are when the soil is processing and consolidating everything it absorbed. Trust the interval. If you're growing in containers or raised beds, which is where most home food growers do their best production, this method becomes even more important and requires a slight adjustment in mindset. Container soil is isolated. Unlike ground soil that connects to a broader ecosystem, a container is a closed system. pH drift happens faster, nutrient depletion is more severe. Salt accumulation from repeated fertilizer applications is more concentrated. The plants can't send roots sideways to find better ground. They work with exactly what they have. This means the correction effect of the baking soda and ash solution is more dramatic in containers. You'll see faster response times and more pronounced improvements in growth and fruit set. But it also means you need to be more precise with the measurement. In a closed container system, pH swings more sharply in response to what you add. The 1 tablespoon per gallon rule is non-negotiable for containers. If anything, lean towards slightly less in very small pots. Half a tablespoon per gallon for anything under 3 gallons. For raised beds, full measurement applies. The larger soil volume buffers pH changes more slowly, which is actually an advantage. The correction is gentler and more sustained. Let's make this concrete. A standard box of baking soda costs less than $1. It contains enough baking soda for roughly 30 applications, more than a full growing season for most home gardens. The wood ash is free if you have any kind of fire pit, fireplace, or campfire in your life. If you don't, many people with fireplaces are happy to give it away. Your total investment for an entire season of applications is under $1. Now look at what this replaces. A bottle of calcium supplement for tomatoes, typically marketed specifically for preventing blossom end rot, runs between $8 and $15 and contains enough for maybe 10 applications. A bottle of fungicide spray for powdery mildew and blight runs $12 to $20. A pH buffer or soil conditioner, another $10 to $15. You're looking at $40 to $50 of specialized garden chemicals, all of which do a narrower version of what 1 tablespoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of ash does together for essentially nothing. And unlike those synthetic products, this solution doesn't disrupt the living ecosystem in your soil. Earthworms, which are your most valuable allies in any garden, thrive in properly balanced, slightly alkaline soil. They aerate. They break down organic matter. They deposit nutrient-rich castings exactly where the roots need them most. Harsh chemical inputs drive them away. This method brings them in. Here's something you actually need to think about before this method fully kicks in. Most home gardeners underestimate what their plants are capable of when the soil chemistry is right and the plants are genuinely healthy. They build their support structures around the expectation of an average harvest. Thin wire cages, a single bamboo stake, a few twist ties. When tomatoes start producing at their actual potential, heavy clusters of fruit pushing out simultaneously on every lateral branch, those structures fail. The cages bend, the stakes tilt. Heavily loaded branches snap without proper support. You lose fruit you worked an entire season to grow in the final weeks before harvest. Plan ahead. Upgrade your support before the fruit sets, not after. For indeterminate tomatoes, use heavy wooden stakes, at least 1 inch thick, 5 feet tall, driven 18 inches into the ground. Tie the main stem and every major branch with soft garden twine or flexible silicone ties that won't cut into the growing tissue. For peppers, a single heavy stake per plant is usually enough, but tie early and tie often as the plant branches out. A heavily loaded pepper plant can topple in a strong wind if the main stem isn't supported close to the soil line. Your cucumbers are going to need serious vertical real estate. Strong trellis, heavy netting. Clip or tie the vines every 8 inches as they climb. Plan for the abundance before it arrives. Because when it arrives, you won't have time to rebuild your infrastructure. You'll be too busy harvesting. Everything we've covered today connects back to one core principle. Healthy plants don't come from adding more products. They come from removing the barriers that are blocking what your plants already need. Your soil has nutrients. Your plants have roots. The 1 spoon solution, 1 tablespoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of fine wood ash, 1 gallon of lukewarm water removes the chemical barriers between them. It corrects pH. It delivers bioavailable minerals. It destroys the conditions that fungal disease requires. And it does all of this for almost nothing, with ingredients you already own. Apply it once every 14 days, starting when the first flower buds appear. Water the root zone in the evening. Never apply to dry soil. Never exceed the measurement. That's the whole system. Your tomatoes will set fruit faster. Your peppers will break out of the stall and branch aggressively. Your plants will defend themselves against the diseases that destroyed last season's harvest. And your soil will become healthier with every application instead of more depleted. This is what gardening looked like before the chemical industry convinced us that plants needed their products to survive. Your grandparents grew enormous harvests with nothing more than kitchen science and soil knowledge. This method is that knowledge brought back. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me what's the most frustrating thing your tomatoes or peppers do every single growing season. The stalling, the dropping flowers, the blossom end rot, the blight that shows up in August. Tell me what's been hitting your garden hardest. I read every single comment and your answers directly shape what I cover next. If this video gave you something useful, hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a new upload. There's a lot more coming, and the next one is going to flip everything you think you know about container gardening upside down. Happy growing. I'll see you in the next one.